So my name is Dr. Moses Dongo Mwangi. Dr. Moses Dongo Mwangi. I am a pharmacist. Graduated from the University of Nairobi in '87. And I have worked in the healthcare industry. Before I left the healthcare industry, 24 years. And 16 years as the regional director of the then world #1 vaccine company, Sanofi Pasteur. During my time in the healthcare industry, I was chairman of the Kenya Association of Pharmaceutical Industry, all the pharma companies that do manufacture and distribute drugs in Kenya for 7 years. And I also was national treasurer of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya that brings all the pharmacists together for 10 years, an editor-in-chief of the Pharmaceutical Journal of Kenya, and many other things. In fact, the Pharmaceutical Society honored me in 2007 for excellent service. And I'm very passionate about health, and we tried to intervene a lot when our healthcare system started going down. And I'm actually a founder director of the Kenya Health Federation that represents the health sector in Kenya Private Sector Alliance. And I was privileged during the Nusu Mkate government to sit in what was then called the Prime Minister's Round Table to discuss matters health. And if you may, that was the closest that we got to see the private sector bringing on the table for government to take up, either for legislation, because in the Prime Minister's Round Table, matters that required legislation would come in. Matters that require administrative changes would be picked up, and we saw our healthcare really come down. And it is with that I felt some of us need to dirty our fingers. We realize that we are talking to politicians to intervene on matters health, but we didn't see much happening at the legislative level. So some of us really decided we needed to run. I have my colleague, Dr. James Nikal, who I worked very closely when he was chairman of Kenya Medical Association, and I was in the industry. And actually in 2004, I was honored with head of state commendation by 2004 by the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Mci for my role. At that time, there was a real problem. It's like every Kenyan was sick with typhoid. And I organized, together with others, a national typhoid awareness and prevention campaign that helped to make sure that people are properly diagnosed from typhoid, people are properly managed, and through that and other interventions that I have been involved in, I was honored with a head of state commendation in 2004. So that is Dr. Moses. In the course of my time, because I was CEO for 16 years, in charge of 9 countries in Eastern Africa on matters vaccines and vaccine preventable diseases. We, as CEO, have mentored many people in leadership, both in the healthcare and even in my own county, Murang'A, where I come from. In the course of time, I was also able to undertake management studies, MBA from Moi University, where I graduated in 2007. And therefore, when the new Katiba came and health was devolved, I saw an opportunity to play a role in transforming healthcare in Kenya with Murang'A as an example. And because we in Murang'A, in 2010, after the constitution, we got ourselves together, political leaders, business leaders, and those who are then in government, whether ambassadors or professors from Murang'A who are teaching in various universities. We came together under an umbrella body called Murang'A County Initiative, MCI. And I was privileged to be the chair of the steering committee. And believe you me, on the day that Mci Scholars lifted Katiba, the new constitution at Uhuru Park, that day, we had a full page as Murang'A County Initiative in the Daily Nation of that day, and you can check.
I'll go to the archives.
You can check and you'll see. That day, Murang'A congratulated the president, and we were able to say this is what Murang'A is going to be. And I was the chair. And the following Saturday, we were in Ihura Stadium as Murang'A County Initiative, together with the political leaders, business people, everybody in Murang'A, to also launch the new constitution in Ihura Stadium. And it was a way of galvanizing the people. We had a dream to be the first of the romp. In fact, our clarion call in the MCI was setting the pace. And in a period of from 2010 to 2013, we got involved in very many activities. We took, in 2011, KCPE, if the counties were there, Murang'A would have been number 40 out of 47. And we asked ourselves, education standards went down, what can we do? And we began a journey. We got ourselves together as the MCI, including all educationists, and we began to do certain things. Some of them include sponsoring bright and needy children. We started what we call the Mci Scholars Program. We would pick 4 children from every sub-county. We have 8 sub-counties in Murang'A, 7 constituencies, 8 sub-counties. By then, 2 boys, 2 girls. Where Wings to Fly would stop, we would pick the next and pay their school fees. And they have now, some of those have already graduated from university. And we would pay for their school fees, mentor them as professionals and students who are in university. And I was privileged to lead that for many years. And that's one activity. We even wrote a book. We have a book. We brought together the best performing teachers into a weekend. How do you make it? And the idea was to replicate this performance in many schools. So you see, right from the start, and by 2013, we had a manifesto. We had a clear plan of what we wanted Murang'A to be. And all we needed was somebody to run with that manifesto. And I brought myself, or rather I was requested. I remember one in a meeting when one MP from Murang'A, then MP, Honorable Bisi Muturi, who was MP for Keharo, he found us and I remember him saying, Dr. Mwangi, you people here, do you think there is an angel who is going to come from heaven and now take the mantle? Just agree among yourselves, one of you. And so I ran for office. But the biggest motivation for me is the passion I have for health. And I have done a lot in my many years of service. I am totally disappointed with the fact that when a Kenyan is very sick, they have to go to India. Every year, Kenyan people are paying into the Indian healthcare system 8 to 9 billion Kenyan shillings. And what that means is that we are paying for salaries of Indian doctors, salaries of Indian nurses. We are developing the healthcare system of India. What about our system? And yet the brightest boy or girl in KCSE wants to be what? A doctor. They want to be a neurosurgeon. So we have the manpower, but we lack the healthcare. And it is my single-mindedness on the need to transform healthcare that drives me. On top of that, Murang'A is endowed with a very hard-working people. We drive agriculture, and yet those of us who grew up when coffee was coffee, our parents were able to educate us. We really must find a way in which the coffee, the tea, the milk, the avocado, the macadamia, the agro products that we produce, we look at their value chains to make sure that the farmer gets value for money, for their time. That a farmer who is farming coffee, when they ask what do you do, they would proudly say, I'm a farmer, I'm a coffee farmer, I'm an avocado farmer, I'm a milk farmer, because they're getting money. So just to see the fact that poverty level went down in Murang'A, there's a time Murang'A County was very, very endowed. Murang'A Union, which had brought together all the coffee societies, was really rich because it was driven by people who are honest. So that is Dr. Moses for you. Dr. Moses is also an elder of a church. I'm not ashamed to say so. Dr. Moses is involved in education matters. If you go to my village, I've been the chair of Kaharo Girls Secondary School. I took up a mixed school called Kaharo Secondary School in 2003 with 270 boys and girls. Today I have two schools, Kaharo Girls with 750 girls, day and boarding, Kaharo Boys with 320 boys and growing. So in that community, I have never left my home community. I'm involved in my home community in Kaharo. You go there, there is a health center called Kaharo Health Center, which we started with the community in 1994. It's fully built up. Infrastructure is there, but the software is missing. People are not enjoying that facility, as they are not enjoying of many other facilities that have been put up over the years through CDF. Those facilities are there, but healthcare is not there. So Dr. Moses is associated with that hospital right from its start. I remember doing walks to raise money, supported by various corporates, walk in Nairobi from railway station to Survey, raising money for that hospital from Maragua town to Kaharo, and that is a community effort. And I dare say there are many other health facilities like those in Murang'A that I know. There's one in Dakaine in Gatanga, fully built up by the community. There's one in Makoboki. I know many that are just there. They are waiting to be used to serve the people. So I'm passionate about education, passionate about health. Even here in where I live, in Nairobi, I am the executive chair of the KBA group of schools at Kahawa West. It's an initiative of the church, and with 2,500 children and over 200 employees, transforming lives in Kasarani, where I live. So really, as you can imagine, besides being a medical practitioner, a pharmacist, I am involved a lot in community initiatives and many others that I can mention. That is Dr. Moses for you.
So, Dr. Moses, we want to take you back to why we are here. And
yes.
My colleague, I'm very sure he had already put.
Okay.
So maybe, as we begin, I now want to look at politics. What is your definition of leadership?
Now, leadership is influence. It's influencing others to follow you in a certain direction. There's a book that I read that informs my thinking about leadership, and it defines and says that if you say you lead and there is no one following you, you're only taking a walk. So it's about influencing people in a certain direction. You can influence people to do good. You can also influence people to do evil. That's what leadership is. And for me, as a leader, you have to lead by example. You have to lead by example. You have to motivate others to be with you. If you have a vision, you have to ensure that that vision is clear, it is well communicated, and you are able to get people to buy into this so that you can move together. That is what leadership to me is. Access money to expand your business, and it must be accessible, easily accessible, obviously with proper governance, to help spur up trade and development. Because how do we create jobs? Those traders at a very low level, sometimes we tax them too much. The trade licenses that they pay, sometimes they are not even able to afford. So we need to lower those to a very minimal level. Some of them completely removed until the business is able to grow. I subscribe to the ideology that instead of taxing, let that business thrive. When that business thrives, you are employing people, they will pay the taxes, but let the support the business. So boresha biashara dogo is a key agenda for me, and it must be fashioned in a way that it is user-friendly, in a way that it helps. And then for the farmers to be able to take their produce to the market, we must have roads. So the rural roads, I think the national government has done a credible job in terms of the main highways, but the roads going to the villages in Murang'A, in some places, there are places where they are carrying coffins to go and bury because the roads are not there. That is the work of the county government, and we must make sure that we can access the market. And then I have an agenda for private-public partnership, PPP. We must create a mechanism whereby whoever it is, even the church, because sometimes the church will start a hospital. They are not interested in making money. They are interested in serving the community. Sometimes you have some CBOs that are there to empower people. So we must find a way of, they must find a soft landing in Dr. Moses' office to be able to carry out those programs because they are meant for the people. So that's my pledge.
So, Dr. Moses, what have you learned from the previous county government that you intend to do different when you become the governor of Murang'A County?
One of the things that has not worked well in Murang'A, there has not been collaboration. There is, if you go to a local chief, the chief works for the national government. There were times when a chief would wake up in the morning and find some manure dropped near the compound for people to come and pick. There was a program like that, but the chief had no idea. You can imagine, and as a public officer, how such public officers, they cannot complain because they are the government, but you have a scenario where the county government and the national government have not really been reading from the same script. The county government and the national leaders have not been reading from the same script. So for me, one of the lessons is that we are serving the same Wajiko. We need to work as a team. Both the elected leaders, the public officers of the national government and the county government, we must find a way of making sure we are working together to deliver the promise to Wajiko. That is number one. Number two is engagement with the people. How we engage the people. A government is supposed to serve the people. You cannot be sitting in your office and thinking that this is what Wajiko needs, and therefore you come and do it. It's important to engage Wajiko. Development must be local. It needs to be localized based on the needs in that particular area. There are places where for example, the milk sector, I must say that the current governor has tried quite a lot with regard to the milk sector. And that is a sector that Dr. Moses is going to build on whatever has been done so that it can even be better, so that it can work better for the farmer, so that that initiative does not die. And what I learned for me is that the fact that I'm coming in as a governor does not mean that what was done before, we completely kill it. We look at what is good and build on it. Because I believe when we came up with Vision 2030, the idea was that successive governments would be able to build on what is there because we are working for the people. A scenario where, for example, we had healthcare facilities that had been put up by certain members of parliament, and maybe only requiring a little money to complete. A new MP comes and he abandons that and he starts something else. I want to say to you, as Dr. Moses, I desire that we run away from that. We look at what is there, because that is public money that is invested. You don't need to abandon. You need to be able to progress. And then number three, one of the biggest issues in Murang'A and indeed in many county governments is suppliers. Suppliers are contracted. They supply goods and services and then they don't get paid. And really many businesses, many people, some of them have been auctioned. This is a disease that must end. When I become governor, I know there are a lot of debts, pending debts. I will immediately get those debts vetted. And those debts that are real, we will have a program of how we pay. We may not be able to pay all of it at a go, but you'll have a program because we must deliver service to the people. So you cannot fully say the money this year goes to paying debt. No, but you have a program of paying, because if a person did work, it doesn't matter whether it was Dr. Moses who was governor, that person deserves to be paid. So, and then going forward, when we are doing contracting, we need to do an open tender process where everybody has an equal opportunity, obviously giving advantage to people who live and work in Murang'A for the sake of our economy. And when we contract, goods and services must be paid for so that we can spur development. So these are lessons. This business of huge pending bills is a cancer that must be dealt with. Because you know, when you go and get money to do business, you borrow money from a bank and then you are not paid. Mental illness is very high, by the way, and COVID made it worse. Partly because people who are well off, they became poor because they were not paid, and nobody cares about that. We must care about people.
Maybe Governor, in respect to time, we don't want to consume much of your time, but I would like you to briefly tell us where women regards coming in your government, where are they included? And under that, I'd like you to also state how they feel secure against cases of gender-based violence, which we saw Murang'A was among the top counties where women are facing GBV and also teenage pregnancies.
Through the agenda of public-private partnership, one of the things that we will do is partner with churches, mosques, and various other groups to carry out empowerment program. And when I talk about empowerment, we need to focus on youth. They must have hope. They must believe in their country. They must believe in their county, and we need to tap their talents. I must add that tapping the talent of the youth, whether it is sports and music, is a key item in my agenda. And you see, men, we must also empower men. There's a program I know called Man Enough, which I will implement in Murang'A, because the men are supposed to be the leaders of their homes, the leaders of the various places, and a responsible man will take care of his wife and his girls. So we will, and through those empowerment programs for youth, empowerment programs for women, empowerment programs for men, and women there are very many women groups in Murang'A. There's even a woman circle for Murang'A, which has been started during the reign of the current governor, and I'm going to strengthen that. I will strengthen it. So, because there are many women groups, currently there isn't much coming from outside, but through my government, I'll work with those establishments, those women groups, to also empower them. When you have an empowered youth, an empowered woman, an empowered man, there is no empowered man who will batter their wives, because they will be confident enough. Why do we have this gender-based violence? Really, it is because the social structures have crumbled. We must go back to the family, and that is why I want to collaborate with the church also, so that we strengthen the family structure. How do you strengthen the family structure? You need to deal with the leader, who is the man. You also need to deal with the women. By the way, in my view and my best estimation is that in our own county, and indeed in certain counties, you'll see that the ratio of women to men in primary schools, in secondary schools, is almost parity. It is at the university level where we need to bring it up. And how do you do that? It is really by engaging, by empowerment. And we have a lot of professionals from Murang'A who feel left out, and they have something to offer. And as Dr. Moses, I'll bring them on board so that they are also involved in the village. For example, I have a program called Adopt a School. Adopt a School. I would like every professional from Murang'A to go back to their primary school and adopt that school. And we'll have a mechanism working with the primary schools are under the national government. But if the governor is working closely with the county commissioner, if the governor is working closely with the education department, we can have a mechanism where we have our own people coming into the primary schools, into the secondary schools, and such a program will eventually make sure that our girls are at equal front. When I appoint a government, when we create the county government of Murang'A, it will respect the Kenyan Constitution. We will have women in key positions of Dr. Moses County government. We'll have women involved in the various programs that we have. And that way the women will also feel they are part and parcel of the government.
finally, in your agenda, you mentioned a lot. You have a lot in your agenda. But during the first year, or the first 100 days, what are the first key projects or project you wish to achieve within the shortest time possible? Just it.
Within the first 100 days, all the healthcare facilities that have been built up and are lying idle will be rehabilitated, staffed with healthcare personnel and the provisions that they need so that they begin to function. I would like Murang'A people within 100 days to know that Dr. Moses is now the governor by they are going to their health facility that is near them. Some of them which are not working now and finding it working. And those others that are working, but today you go to the hospital and you just get a prescription to buy drugs, they will find the drugs across the county, right from Murang'A level 5 all the way down. It will be an affirmative action for the first 100 days. Watu wa Murang'A watajua kuna daktari ambaye ndiye governor wa Murang'A.
So Dr. Moses, you are parting short. I want you to look to this
Yes.
camera
Yes.
and talk to Murang'A people. Why should they elect you?
Now, my comrades, my friends, my fellow Murang'A people, my fellow Murang'ans, Dr. Moses, I ran for office of governor in 2013. I was the runner-up with 40,000 votes. When we came to 2017, among the people who ran for office of governor in 2013, it was only Dr. Moses who came again together with the incumbent. So we planted in 2013, tukapalilia in 2017. I moved from 40,000 to 160,000 against a Jubilee wave. Now in 2022, it is time to harvest. So those of you who voted for me in 2013, thank you very much. You've been very passionate. You increased to 160,000. Stay with me. And those others who voted the incumbent because he's not there, come to Dr. Moses' camp. Because the fact that I have been coming means that I have a vision for you. And it is for you, for the future of your children, and for all of us. You should be asking yourself, what is this that Dr. Moses wants to do? Why is he coming again? And remember, I don't work for government. I have not worked for government. I am a private individual. I've been in private sector. I use my own resources to come because I have a dream. Give me a chance, Murang'A people, and in 5 years, you will not believe what will happen to Murang'A. Give me your vote. If you give me your vote, give me your vote again. For those of you who are voting for the current incumbent, si munajua, come to Moses. And we do the job that you and me and the future generations will be proud of.